E-Classroom with Mom C featuring Tesco and Echo. How are you today? Can I ask favors from you?
Yes, Mom C, may you please show us?
Could you tell me what are the things to do before we start our class?
We used to prepare our pen and paper, including our model or book. We must maximize this moment as an opportunity to engage and learn. We have to pay attention and participate too.
Thank you, Tesco and Echo. We will start in a moment. Teachers must prepare interactive lessons for the students. We are certain that learners can understand lessons better if they find them interesting. I ought to provide scaffolding for better understanding. Teachers might feel exhausted too, but they never stopped reaching out and teaching. Thoughts from Echo and Tesco.
We must do our part to achieve success in school. Learners should prepare study plans for the week. We can ask for assistance if we are difficult about a lesson. At the end of the day, we will eat the food of our library classmates. Can you give your best?
After watching the short video clip, have you noticed that there are highlighted words? Are you familiar with them? What do you call them? How are they expressed, or what do they express in each sentence? How about their form? This week, we will learn about more of them. Our topic is all about the use of models. For this week, our objectives are use modal verbs in sentences and construct sentences using modal verbs. Did you know what modals are? They are known as modal verbs. They are auxiliary verbs that provide additional and specific meaning to the main verb of the sentence. Modal verbs can signify ability, probability, advice, request, permission, prohibition, obligation, certainty, and possibility. Now, what are the most commonly used modals? In the video earlier, they are highlighted, and some of them are the following: can, could, may, might, must, have to, shall, should, ought to, will, and would. Moving on, there are things that you have to learn about modals. Let's start with their forms. Remember the following pointers. Modal verbs do not have infinitives or ing forms. You cannot say or write to can or canning, to shall or shalling, to ought to or to oughting. Let's have examples. You shall to take time. This is incorrect. It must be, you shall take time studying your lessons. Another, I ought to know the truth about it. Another pointer to remember is this. S is not added to show singularity. If sometimes your sentence have singular subjects, you cannot add S to modals just to show singularity. Examples: he must always follow the health protocols. Even though modals are also known as modal verbs, they are not added S if you mean to say singular. It must be like this. He must always follow the health protocols. Another, the professor can teach in 3 different languages. The correct one is, the professor can teach in 3 different languages. You have to take note that whether the subject is singular or plural, the form of the modal is the same. Next thing you have to remember is, do or does is not added to questions. Examples: would you attend our virtual meeting this afternoon? No, that's wrong. It must be like this. Would you attend our virtual meeting this afternoon? Next, don't or doesn't are not added to show negation. Examples: they don't can take my things without my permission. We cannot add don't to our modal verb can just to show negation. It must be, they can't take my things without my permission. You have to take note that the only way to make your statement using modals negative or to show negation, you only have to add not, just like should not, could not, or may not. Now moving on, it is important to note that to use modals, you have to use them as is, meaning to say you don't change them. So either in any of the tenses, whether it is present, past, or future. Why? Because they are never affected by the person, number, and gender of the subject. But remember this one, though they have no effect on them, especially if they are used in sentences. The only thing that you have to take note is, another thing to take note is, models cannot stand on their own. They lack meaning if they are used alone in a sentence. In addition to the forms of models, they can be contracted. How? So this is the full form in the first column and the contracted form in the second column. So can or cannot, it can be contracted by deleting O and replacing it with an apostrophe. So can't, could not, couldn't, will, ill, will not, won't, would, that's would not, wouldn't, should not, shouldn't, must not, mustn't, can, can't. Now we're done with the forms. Let's proceed to modal verbs structures. We have 3: affirmative sentences, negative sentences, and interrogative sentences. So how do we use modal verbs in these structures? Let's begin with affirmative sentence. You are going to use the modal verbs with this formula: modal plus the verb in the base form. Example: they can collect donations for the victims of the pandemic. I should help you win the declamation contest. Can, modal, collect, the verb in its base form. Should, the modal, and help is the verb in its base form. And these two are examples of affirmative sentences. Next, negative sentences. Same format, but the only thing that you have to add is not or the contracted form N apostrophe T. So modal plus the verb in its base form. Examples are, they can't collect donations for the victims of the pandemic. I shouldn't help you win the declamation contest. See, the modals are in a form of its constructed form, and it shows negation. Next, how about interrogative sentences? This is the formula. The WH question plus the modal, either affirmative or the positive, and the negative, or plus the verb in its base form. Let's have examples. When can they collect donations for the victims of the pandemic? Why should I help you win the declamation? When is our question form. It is our WH question followed by the can, which is a modal in its affirmative form or positive form, and the verb in its base form. Now, if you would want to make this negative, just simply add not or its constructed form. So when can collect, when can't collect, why should help, why shouldn't help. After the form and the structure, what do modal verbs express? They can express more than one meaning depending on the situations. Now, they have three categories: single concept modals and double concept modals, and the last one is the modals in the past. Let's begin with single concept model or modals. These means they have one meaning. Double concept models have two meanings or multiple meanings. Models in the past are used to express a situation in the past. Now let us determine what are these single concept models, double concept models, and models in the past. Take a look at the table. Under single concept models, we have will, might, should, and ought to. For double concept models, we have may, must, would, shall, could, and can. For the models in the past, we have would have, could have, might have, should have, may have, and must have. With these three, let us focus on the first two, single concept models and double concept models. Examples: the model is will and its concept is future. Examples: I will vote wisely. Anthony will open a savings account tomorrow. Sheila will participate the 3 R's soon after learning about them. Might. Its concept, small probability or remote possibility. Example, you might finish high school with flying colors. Next, should. It means duty, obligation, advice, suggestion, request, surprise, purpose, etc. Examples, the learners should keep themselves abreast with the new trends of learning. You should try eating at Elias and Salome restaurant. Now let us have the double concept models. Starting off with may. It has multiple meanings, just like permission, good probability, permission, formal permission, doubtful, possibility, purpose, and wish. Examples, may I attend your online class later? She may visit Pampanga this Christmas. Must or have to. It means responsibility, assumption, obligation, necessity, compulsion, obligation, determination, certainty, emphatic advice, prohibition. Examples: everyone must follow the law. He left early. He must have an important appointment. I must submit my outputs on time. We have to comply with my teacher's class requirements. Would. It means past. Used to. Something that is we are used to. Present and real. Examples. When I was in elementary, I would play patintero in Pico. I would buy a new phone, but I prefer to save the money instead. Shall. Making suggestions, offering help. An educated expression, contractual obligation. Example, the boy shall leave now. Shall I carry this for you? Excuse me, I shall go now. The company shall pay its employees every 15th of the month. Could, unreal ability, past ability, permission, possibility. I could go if I had the time. The lady could do ballet. Could I join your vlog? You could join us as long as you commit. Next, can. Present ability. Permission. We can express ourselves better in Kapampangan. And can I speak Filipinos in our class? Now, do you have any question regarding models? We're done discussing its form, its use in different sentence structures, and what do each models express. Let us now practice. The first practice is you are to determine what or how are the models used in each sentence. Are you ready? You have 5 seconds to answer. You can type it or unmute if you would like to answer. Ready? Let's begin. Number 1. You must listen to your teacher during lecture. A. Probability. B. Necessity. C. Ability. The answer is B. Necessity. What model is used? Must. Number 2. You shall visit your grandmother monthly. A. Obligation. B. Ability. C. Permission. The answer is A. Obligation. And which is the model used? Correct. Shall. Number 3. Parents ought to provide for their children. A. Request. B. Obligation. C. Purpose. The answer is obligation. The, the model used is ought to. Number 4. May I take the chair for you? A. Request. B. Purpose. C. Ability. The answer is A. Request. And the model used is may. Last number for practice 1. You shouldn't take the credit if it is not yours. A. Advice. B. Obligation. C. Purpose. The answer is A. Advice. And the model used is shouldn't. Good job! Let's practice more. Did you get a perfect 5? Let's move on to practice 2. Supply each number with the appropriate models. And these are the models. Shouldn't, can, could, have to, must, will, ought to, and may. Number 1. Same, still have 5 seconds for every answer. Number 1. You blank study over the weekend to make up for it. The answer is must or have to because it is a necessity. Number 2. If you are the company owner, you blank give your employees incentives fairly. The answer is ought to because it is obligation. Number 3. He blank scuba dive before the accident happened. Answer could because it is a past ability. Number 4. The old woman blank recalled hundreds of animal species in a minute. The answer is can because that's an ability. Number 5. Looking at the clouds, we blank experienced downpour this afternoon. The answer is may because it shows possibility. Number 6. They blank be biased in terms of justice and fairness. The answer is shouldn't. It shows negation. It is an advice or recommendation. And last number. I blank prepare for the coming New Year's Eve. The answer is will. It shows future. Did you get the perfect score? Good job! Now to practice more and strengthen your learning about models, do the following activities. For activity 1, you will compose a conversation between and among the characters about any of the following topics: COVID-19, face-to-face classes, attending virtual class, joining a school club, and voting for national election. Now use models and do highlight or underline the models for recognition. Now, this is the 12-panel comic strip template. You can use the link that I will send as the free comic template that you can use, or you can, especially for those who are good in drawing, you can make your own comic template, but make sure it has 12 panels just like this one. And this is the rubric, good for 30 points. Next, for activity 2, you are going to create your own sentences for each of the following models. Now, if you don't have any question, that's it about models. In our daily undertakings like conversations and communications, we use models. By using models, we can effortlessly express and address our concerns or situations appropriately. We can show politeness, we can give advice, propose suggestions or recommendations, and be well understood by others. Models might be tricky at times because some of them have multiple meanings. Just keep in mind that the meaning will always depend on the situation. You have to use models as is, meaning you don't change them, either in any of the tenses, whether it is present, past, or future, because they are never affected by person, number, and gender of the subject. Okay, that's it for the day. I hope you did learn. Thank you for watching. With Mumsy, English is fun. See you next time. Keep safe and God bless.